think about Alexa in general and like how she'll dial numbers for you so you don't have to talk to people, which is very appealing, but not good for the soul.
She's dialing numbers to call someone.
You still have to talk to
that you're wanting to talk to.
But not with that new Google. Not with that new Google Assistant thing.
That's a problem.
That's what I'm talking about.
That's a problem.
That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
That's not dialing numbers. That's having full on like
conversations.
Autonomous conversations about like how to schedule your life and Listen, I'll get a haircut when I want to get a haircut. All right, Alexa.
So it's like an AI that like.
Oh, you haven't heard this demo?
I haven't heard.
You got it. Is
it's wild,
upsetting. No. And then it's just
upsetting.
a bunch of people who have like no real empathy or understanding of like the human condition, like going Bravo, coming all at once after the demo because it, I guess, is impressive, but it's very scary.
It's extraordinarily impressive because they programmed in ums and
it's like natural language processing makes it sound like a real person.
See, that makes it even less ethical to me because you're tricking people.
Well, that's the legislation is like, do we have to like alert people
that they're not
in the same way that you
human?
would if you were recording somebody in certain states, that it would be like, I'm a robot, and then it would like go into the thing.
This is the Google Assistant or whatever. Like it would identify itself as.
I think
it should identify itself just like for manners.
Yeah,
you say hello.
You would say that as
introduce
yourself. But all of these dudes, all of these like. I almost called him Elon Flux. All these like Fluxian geniuses are like the challenge is being able to fool the AI.
Yeah,
that's like what
that's the Turing test. That is
exactly.
what they're trying to get to. But we are not. We don't want like humans innately are skeptical of that. That demo when it happened was like, this is really fucking cool and terrifying. And immediately Google had to like walk back a whole bunch and be like, well, okay, fine, we'll have it identify itself. And do
that's
all right.
So wild.
Humans are still special.
right.
It's like everybody's so out of touch that they're just like, we will be greeted as kings. Like our market share will skyrocket, and then everyone's like, no, we don't like this, and nobody asked for this. Not to mention the fact that like that sort of job, if you're like in the example, it literally is somebody who's like, I'm too busy to get my hair done. So, like, Google, will you take care of booking the appointment for me? And so it calls a real salon and talks to a real person and, like, dynamically converses and updates the calendar. Can you imagine if your job was just getting calls from robots all day who are like, let me think about that? Like, it's so dystopic.
Like, you don't need to think about it.
Here's the thing.
But also,
if you're so busy, you don't know when you can get a haircut. Like, you also have to be the type of person who puts everything in your calendar.
This is true.
So
Check, please. Got it.
You can't be someone like me who forgets everything they're doing every day.
It's like,
I don't need an assistant because that would make my life harder.
Hey, Emma, this is me, Alexa. You booked 6 hours of classes today. You cool, girl? She just sort of like checks in.
Her Google Assistant would call the hair salon and be like, I have availability from 6 a.m. to midnight. Does that work? And they're just like, wow, this person does nothing, huh?
I can hear all of those, the Eon Fluxes out there. Just like, they're like, Steven, you're missing the point.
Yeah.
What we're trying to get to is when the robot calls the salon, then a robot answers.
Yeah,
and
that's
humans don't enter into it until it's time for the haircut, Steven.
Or, hey, let's just, chit chat at the salon is awkward. Get rid of that human being that's cutting my hair.
Now you're speaking my language.
I just want here 17 autonomous drones with shears orbiting
and they're
my
all
head.
Networked together.
Yeah. Doing a fine ballet dance.
That's more my speed.
That's what gets my rocks off.
That's real talk, right, small talk at the salon.
Yeah. It's terrifying.
I hate it.
But I still think it's good for us and we need to do it.
I've straight up asked people, like birds where they're like a little bit cooler and like kind of like more approachable and not. There's this place that traffics in what I call the new masculinity, which is it's called Finley's, where it's like all guys with like elaborate facial hair, like going like, "Do you want like amber liquor like before your haircut?" I'm like, "No, just cut my hair and also don't talk to me and try to minimize the touching."
Yeah.
But at Birds, where they're really friendly, I said, "Hey, straight up, level with me. I don't like to talk during it because I'm not good at that sort of small. I feel like weird, and also you're touching my head. Is it rude not to?" And she's like, a lot of people, she won't speak for everybody, but a lot of estheticians like it because you're just talking to people all day long. So it's like, oh, this is one where I can go on autopilot and just cut my hair. And I'm hoping beyond hope that that's universal because I'm just riding that into the
I bet it is.
I'm sure. Yeah.
Probably. I mean, because I've never really been in a situation where, like, because I'm not straight up like Steven. I'm not a brave person socially like that. So I'll just kind of test the waters by not saying anything.
But not.
I'm just like,
is somebody gonna come out and spank me?
like, is this gonna be,
Griffin, so you got any plans for the weekend?
I would then answer because I'd be like, well, you're not really, I'm not really a planner, but
you're always just like you're shutting down
it's
any
like,
follow-up.
You can talk to me if you so choose. Obviously, I'm not super into it, but like, it rarely do they try like repeatedly to engage once they realize like this guy just wants a haircut.
Yeah.
And like, the only thing is that I do feel a little weird because like having my head touched to me is very, very soothing. And so I don't want them to think that I'm just like,
Well, my friend who's a hairstylist told me that people do fall asleep in the chair often.
Yeah.
And that does not surprise me at all. Because in this fast-paced world, how often do you get to just sit and have someone touch your head?
Just let her sleep. Her autonomous assistant didn't book the time, but we're just going to let her sleep off her busy day. Okay. Welcome back to We Are Definitely Afraid of the Dark. I'm Stephen Smith. I'm afraid of everything.
I'm Emma Holder, and I'm more afraid of more things.
And I'm Kyle Romero, and I'm a big brave boy.
We have a very special guest this week. Dear friend.
It's true.
Creative co-collaborator. Source of inspiration, impeccable host, writer, performer, comedian, Griffin May.
Yeah,
that dude.
Thank you so much for the warm welcome, Stephen.
Full disclosure, I got your name right.
Tongue in cheek, though, obviously, like all that praise.
I don't mean any of that.
Doesn't mean jack.
So, just a little peek behind the curtain. I very regularly have a moment of panic when I have to say a person's name, who I know, but like, and when we have people on here, and then if you'll go back and listen to every episode up until this point in time, I sort of softball those names. I go,
You do. You turn them into a laugh, and then you can't understand them.
You cannot understand the names.
You can't understand it.
It is like, hey, you know what, guys? Look at your fucking phones. The names are on the episode.
Yeah.
I forget them in real time. The only you benefit today because I know you better than a lot of the people that we've had on the show. So I got it right, though. I nailed it. May?
I think so.
May is your last name?
Yeah.
It's Griffin May.
What's your middle name?
My middle name is Howard. So,
I don't know why that's funny to me.
actually,
You got two of that same kind of name. Griffin and Howard, right? Sandwiched right up next to each other.
I mean, like, it's a super, I think, English-y name.
Oh yeah, boy.
But all of my names are last names. Like, Griffin is the last name of some
Kathy.
family friends. Is also Kathy Griffin last name. And Howard is my mom's maiden name.
Ron.
Also Uncle Ron.
Their last names from your family.
So,
wait.
Yes, Ron Howard is named after my family.
Okay. Oh, got it.
So I'm named after the last name of some family friends, the Griffins. Who? I mean, my parents also liked the name Griffin.
So it wasn't like necessarily to honor them. It was just like, we like the name.
It's like, we like the name, and it was kind of, it was kind of like an 11th hour thing, because they had been pretty much settled on Zach. I was almost
dodged
Zach,
bullet on that one, bud.
which I think, yes, bullet dodged there. We did wind up naming the dog Zach. So I really identified with Indiana Jones in The Last Crusade. We named the dog Indiana. But so yeah, Griffin's last name, family friends. Howard is my mom's maiden name. And May is my last name, is my surname.
What family is that from?
That's from my dad's side.
I was supposed
The
to.
Mays.
I was the third child. 2 girls up at that point in time.
Ooh,
so
I have 2 older sisters.
Everybody was just, if they were betting, they were. I mean, they had a name picked out. I was supposed to be Deanne.
Oh.
Not Diane. Deanne. Because my parents are
it's
Kansas trash.
It's Spanish for the Anne.
So I'll still answer that. If anybody wants to try that on for size, sure. Why not?
There's a rhythmic sort of echo from Deanne to Steven.
Oh, okay.
Deanne.
Diane Stivan.
I'm pretty sure if I was a boy, I was going to be Emmett.
Oh.
So really didn't vary from the theme very much.
Hey, get on back in here with them lobster traps.
Emmett.
Those Maine rednecks.
Yep, that's...
Gig 'em.
Been out gigging lobsters in the bay. I am it.
Is there?
Yeah.
Are there like Maine rednecks?
Yeah.
What
Mainer
would the
rednecks?
stereotype
Yeah,
be?
they
What do they
meth.
sound like? But they're like, oh,
Meth?
Meth is huge in Maine. Well, everywhere probably, but
Yeah.
Yeah.
it's a Maine accent. It's a thick Maine accent, and no, the Maine accent is very classist. Like,
how so?
poor people tend to have the accent versus people who aren't as
Yeah, I
poor.
went to finishing school.
Yeah. So, like, my mom has a bit of an accent, although she really has, like, it's gotten, since she moved to the island, it's gotten thicker.
She's like, Mikian. No, I can't.
All right.
That's not for me.
No.
Tay in a wind.
Here's the phrase I say to get into the Maine
Okay,
accent.
please.
And I really legit heard this in a...
Oh my God, you just did.
I know.
It was like a magic trick. Like a dog saw
No,
a magic trick.
I heard this phrase in a hardware store in Bar Harbor, Maine. Noma Garcia Parra got traded.
No, ma.
It was this
Garcia
older guy
Parra.
coming in and being like, I can't believe Noma Garcia Parra got traded.
Can we all try? I'll go first because I don't do accents. No.
Such confidence.
Noma Garcia Parra got traded.
It was a little too Kennedy and
Forrest
then
Gump-
giggle.
Noma Garcia Parra got traded.
I stand before you today and I say, no more Garcia Parra got traded.
Pretty good. We saved the best for last. The kingpin of accents.
Noma Garcia Parra got traded.
Oh, very good.
Very
Pretty
nice.
good.
That was very
nice.
good.
I feel like Griffin, tell our good listeners and remind me what part of the snowy north you're from.
I am originally from Madison, Wisconsin.
And you've got a little bit of it.
A little bit. It depends on my state and the words that I'm required to say. If there's like an ARD, a lot of times, like card.
Okay.
Like I kind of put it in there when I said it then, but yeah, like occasionally it'll come out like card or hard or something like that. I never said things like since everybody knows what Wisconsin accents sound like. But like there are things like instead of roof, people say roof.
Rough, yeah.
Or instead of roots, roots, or instead of bag, bag.
That's just that one doesn't make no sense.
That was just incorrect.
That's just okay. Yeah, I agree.
Do they call bagels bagels? They like switch the bagels.
Bagels.
back? Okay.
It's bagels and bag.
What are they called? Kegels.
I think that would
Pussy
be.
tight.
I feel like Steven
There's
has spent
children
time up
around,
north.
sir.
So yeah,
Men can do Kegels too. Kegels?
So
it would be kegels. I think. just judging by what I know.
ask your mom and let us know.
Hey mom, how do you keep it?
How do you keep it tight
fun and
downstairs?
tight?
Yeah.
You've had 3 or 4 kids.
Wisconsin, Minnesota,
3 survived.
North Dakota, all those places that basically seem like frozen hellscapes for 6 months out of the year. Scary. Are those pretty scary states?
There's
Yes.
a lot
Seems
to
like
fear.
Some scary stuff. Yeah.
There's a lot to fear up there.
What's the scariest snowstorm you ever had?
The ice storm of 98.
Is that yours legit?
Yeah. Oh my God, it was crazy.
Well, don't tell us anymore.
You've said enough.
Save it for the Patreon, I guess.
No, what about
What are the deets, baby?
Ice Storm 98 sounds thrilling.
It was a giant ice storm that took over the whole Northeast. And, like, we only lost power for a day, but some people were without power for weeks. And, like, in the cold.
But the kind of people that talk like this, you know what I mean? Wink, wink,
wink,
coded
wink,
I
language.
think it just was
Not that cold.
rural places. It was harder to get power back on.
Yeah,
What are we-
rural, I get you.
What are we talking though? Like, because
It's all dog
he's
whistles.
swamp, he's swamp people. I'm South Texas.
I mean, you drive 5 minutes from the suburbs I lived in, and you're in the country.
But are we talking about like
Farms.
feet's worth, foots
Oh.
of snow?
So the ice storm, there was probably snow on the ground, but it was like it was freezing rain for days and days.
Yeah.
So what happened is all the branches got very, very heavy
Oh no.
and like fell over and broke power lines. A tree fell on my dad's car.
Oh no.
In the driveway. But like people died because like they got stuck.
Yeah. Or they froze.
Like it's really dangerous for elderly people in isolated areas.
It was the same with the heat waves too. It's
Yeah.
the vulnerable populations that.
Yeah.
Kyle, sorry.
Well, no, I was gonna say we actually had an ice storm in fucking Southeast Texas when I was
Oh.
a kid. Weirdly enough, like it never happened again, as far as I know. But I was probably, I don't know, like 10, somewhere around 9, 10, something like that. And it was like we had to do without power for I don't know 3-4 days, something like that. And I just remember the crushing boredom more than anything. But yeah, it was weird. There was no snow. It was exactly like you said. It was just like branches freezing and power lines going out.
And the noises of the trees covered in
it's,
ice
like,
was
spooky.
very creepy.
Yes.
Did
I
you guys
remember-
just get like gators and just put like lashes on them and ski
Yeah,
down hills?
yeah. We made
Frozen gator sled.
gator sleds. We rode our gator sleds down to Kroger, and got us a bunch of room for the gumbo. Yeah.
Didn't have any shovels. So
I
get
live-
those gators out.
I live for these charming, like local witticisms and phrases. You all have such interesting background. Any scary? You're the Sherpa. Are there any scary, like anything in the canon that's wintry?
Ooh, yeah. Well, The Shining is the first thing that pops
duh.
in my head.
Okay,
It's
of course.
like
The
a
Scary
wintry...
Santa movie.
Oh yeah,
Black Christmas?
Yeah, Black Christmas. And then the Scary Santa movie.
Special delivery. So.
Wait, what is the name of it?
I think it's called
There's
Santa.
one called Rare Exports. There's
Rare
a bunch
Exports.
of Scary
That's
Santa
the Finnish
movies.
one.
Santa.
That's the one that I've seen. That's the Finnish one.
I haven't seen that one, but I've heard it's really great.
It's fun.
Jack Frost.
That's like one of those like he's kind of like a horny
Yeah.
serial killer inside of a
snowman.
Yeah.
And that's not
Famously,
the Michael
there's
Keaton
some
one.
gnarly stuff
somebody
No.
is
with a
penetrated with a carrot.
Yeah.
Cool. Really always pushing the envelope, really out on the bleeding edge there. Directors. Griffin, let's get into your relationship with scary stuff. We see what we did there, just for those listening at home, is we bantered, we introed, and we bantered again. You can't keep us from bantering. We love bantering.
Just so I circled back to the banter.
You're
stop
not
banning.
scared of shit?
I'm actually pretty scared of lots of things. I just have flat affect, I guess, because I'm on the spectrum. But I mean, I'm afraid of a lot of stuff.
Did you just go? You went away for a second.
Spiders and the dark. Also, my biggest fear, I guess, all through my life has been abandonment.
Oh yeah.
I used to have recurring nightmares as a child that my family moved while I was sleeping,
Oh.
and a Chinese family moved into the house, so I couldn't understand. Like, they knew where my family had gone, but they couldn't
could
tell me.
communicate in English. Yeah.
I was just going to bring up, I think Home Alone did a number on our generation
Yeah.
for that reason, because it was like so easy for parents to forget
It was
you.
like, they
Yeah.
forgot you and
Make
went
it-
to France, and now you have to fight criminals to survive.
Yeah, and the thing that's so wild about that
Or
movie too is
befriend a
it's
creepy
like
old lady in the
we're
park.
supposed to kind of like empathize and understand with the mom and that, but it's like, well, no, you fucked up like pretty much the most primary
Did a
thing.
bad job.
Like, how could you
did
get on a
very
plane
bad
without
job.
your fucking
Yeah.
kid?
But I guess
it says a lot about Catherine O'Hara's talent that we're just now questioning.
Yeah. She's so winning. So scary movies, though.
Scary movies. The things that get me in scary movies. I hate the jump scares, but they get me.
You reckon? Okay, we're gonna talk about it. All right, interesting, noted. Filing it away.
Interesting choice of a film.
Yeah, exactly. Because we've got some business to settle with you, Mister.
There's also
I have a
you
list.
are getting spanked after all.
I also
no.
the things that get to me are like the cringe-inducing stuff, and I mean, so here this movie was that again.
Shoot, let's get into them. I don't want to. Let's do it. Let's talk about what you brought.
Oh well, so
Say the ones we didn't watch first.
we did not watch of the three movies. We did not watch Night of the Creeps or Murder Party.
Okay, tell me about both of those because it seemed pretty early. It seemed pretty obvious, pretty early on, that those were red herrings. So I didn't even really go too far into understanding what they were.
So essentially, they were red herrings because I knew that Drag Me to Hell would be easy to stream because we had just been talking about it, Dylan and I in the chat, and Kyle and people in our sketch chat. Pendulum, we're all in Pendulum. People know this, I assume.
No, we never talk about
It
Pendulum
never
on the
comes
podcast.
up.
Just cut that part out. Cut that part out.
We don't want to publicize ourselves.
So, all three movies had come up in recent discussions that I had had with various people. And so Night of the Creeps is Fred Decker's other movie. So he's the guy who wrote and directed Monster Squad. Which
I love Monster Squad.
Is that
I've never seen Monster Squad.
Oh, it's so fun.
is that the movie from the 80s with all the monsters?
Yeah.
all
Yeah.
the
It's
classics.
Yeah, it was too scary for me as a kid.
It's from '88. Same year as Die Hard.
Yeah.
Two
Despite being sort of
classics.
boy heavy, it was very fun. I enjoyed
It was
as a kid.
it was very fun. It's a kids on a mission movie. I
Yeah.
love kids on a mission movies. And the kids cuss, which I thought was so much fun as
so
a
much
kid.
fun.
Like the little girl saying, "Come on, guys, don't be chicken shit." Like, I love that. And just it was
Out of
just
the mouths of babes.
it was just pitched perfectly for me as a lad, and I still
It feels
enjoy
like sort of
watching it.
naughty Amblin.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Where it's like they're like the
For
kids
sure.
are like a little bit a little bit sassier, but it's like fun. It's a comedy sort of. It's also scary in turn. It's great.
Mhm.
But that's
It was scary
Monster
enough for
Time,
kids. Yeah.
which
Monster
you did not
Monster
suggest.
Time.
That's Monster Squad.
Oh
So,
no, the clock is struck 12. You know what that means.
Monster Squad.
Monster Time.
It's Monster Time.
whoa, good guy.
Why did you choose this other one instead of that?
Monster Time was a Monster
So-
Mash remix that was released in Cuba. It was sort of like weird. Anyway.
Good content. So I picked Night of the Creeps because, as far as I know, everybody is intimately familiar with Monster Squad. Because I have watched it 100,000 times in my life.
Not me, baby.
And it's a surprise to me that
Yeah.
Kyle, did you like The Goonies?
I did not like The Goonies. I didn't watch The Goonies until I was in high school. So it was not part of my growing up. I actually had my high school girlfriend was very into The Goonies, and it was like a whole thing where she's like, finally you're going to see The Goonies, and she sat down and showed me The Goonies, and I was like, it's fine. And to be honest, I probably was doing a little bit of trolling. I liked it probably more than I admitted at the time, but it didn't stick with me. It's not...
There are a lot of clear, like, filmmaking flubs in that movie if you have that kind of eye.
Don't.
Just don't
Straight up
take it to
don't.
the Goonies. Because if you watched it as a kid and enjoyed it, then watching it as an adult and being like, oh, that's, like, really bad green screen. Or, like, how did that jump happen from there to there? Or why is that glass refilled?
But tonally, Night of the Creeps is the same thing. It's like a sort of 50s sci-fi monster
So that's
horror thing.
like Night of the Creeps is difficult to classify because it does it's a mixture of sci-fi, horror, and different genres of horror. So there's the slasher aspect and there's the zombie aspect. and then there's also the alien aspect. So
Too many cooks.
It's a lot of stuff going on. It's similar to Wild Zero, if you've ever heard of that.
Nope.
Which is a
Same. I'm in the same boat.
I just haven't. I can't change it.
so that one is like that you have not heard of because it's a Japanese-Thai co-production, but it stars the Japanese lo-fi punk band Guitar Wolf. If you've ever heard of them.
Yes, yeah. I actually have.
And so
I mean,
nope.
It is a rock and roll zombie alien invasion movie.
So Griffin, I'm getting a vibe that your whole thing is you like 17 ingredients mixed up in a big old pot.
I like
you
stuff.
like that gumbo, Shy.
I like gumbo. I like a nice roux, and I like it to have lots of ingredients and flavors.
Like
I generally like.
You like the sausage.
Stop.
Taxo.
Kyle is not wearing pants at present.
Kyle's just covered in grease. He looks
Got a big
happy.
straw hat on.
And he also has a cauldron, which I wasn't going to say anything about, but like, it's getting hot in here.
Kyle
It's
has
like
fallen
really
on hard
humid.
times. He now wears a cauldron, not a barrel, and women's clothes, and a nice
I'm a
suspender.
Cajun political cartoon.
Oh,
It
got rid of
always just says Huey P. Long on the cauldron.
So
Tell us about that other movie.
So the other movie that's not Night of the Creeps, or
yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Murder Party.
Murder Party. Which again, this sounds like this is gonna be a movie.
Murder Party. Now this
No
one,
doubt about it.
This one is much more straightforward.
Okay.
So the Murder Party is about a lonely guy who
Relatable.
finds an invitation to something called a murder party. But it's around Halloween, and he's bummed because he hasn't gotten invited or anything. Nice sigh from Emma.
Why would you go to something called that?
But it's because every asshole who's either Kyle or is a guest on this show is always like, well, because you have to, the plot demands it. But also everyone's like got this insatiable curiosity for like insane shit.
Yeah.
You wouldn't go to it, but Kyle would.
I would also probably, there's a chance I would throw something called a murder party. Like as a fun little kitschy, you
right.
know.
But if
because
I.
it's like if it was pitched to you as a party.
Sure.
Right.
But
You
if I
know.
didn't know the people hosting it, I
Sure.
would not go.
Yeah. If you didn't know anybody there, that makes sense.
But
It's not
anyway,
a murder mystery
continue,
party, motherfuckers.
And it's Halloween and everything. So,
Sure.
but then again, probably shouldn't have gone.
If you
Did
can
you-
believe it.
So,
So both of these things, did you see them when you were quite young? Are
Murder
these like
Party-
formative movies for you?
Murder Party's pretty new.
Murder
right?
Party's
Oh,
more
okay.
recent.
Okay.
It's from like 2007, I think.
Okay.
Night of the Creeps, I didn't watch until later because I didn't discover it until later when I was like, what else did Fred Dekker do? It's like, well, he did this.
Did
This
he
other-
promptly die after making either
He's
that
still
or
alive.
what? But only got 2 movies and
He only got 2 movies, but he's just seemed like every time I've ever read an interview with him, he's like, I'm so glad I got to make those movies.
Oh,
Just seems like a
So
sweet
good.
guy. He's
Yeah.
friend with Shane Black, so
Oh,
Yeah.
I'm
I think-
excited about that Predator movie.
yeah. So I think he's kind of like
Predator.
I think he's kind of involved with things in some
In the
ancillary
behind-the-scenes-y kind of way.
manner. But okay,
Well,
so
third movie, baby.
Murder Party. The guy finds an invitation.
Wait, we're talking about Murder Party.
What's
still?
the third
We don't
movie?
need to know the whole plot of Murder
Huh?
Party.
Oh.
Yeah, I'm gonna watch Murder Party.
Yeah, we'll save it for Kyle.
What's the movie we ended up watching?
Drag Me to Hell. So this was
Yes!
Sam Raimi's
No.
return to horror after he had
Triumphant
been-
return.
Triumphant return. It was so this. Listen to Kyle and I. We are
We watched it. You can't trick us.
we are coming from the perspective of
You
fans of Sam Raimi.
You
Yeah.
liked
Hey.
all that Evil Dead shit.
Yeah.
And
I
you were
like Spider-Man.
You were excited about Spider-Man. Spider-Man 2, you're like, it's a pretty good movie. Spider-Man 3, you're like, what has happened to our dear...
No,
I was
Baby.
lost
Let
at
me
Spider-Man 1.
Let me recategorize.
I liked
Dylan
Spider-Man
ass,
1.
trolling ass.
No, let me
One was better
recategorize.
than
I liked
two.
Spider-Man 1.
Opposite of a troll.
This is going to be a very contentious episode. I'm
Opposite of a
excited about
troll.
it. Okay.
I loved Spider-Man 1. Was so into it.
Yes, one
Thought
was
Spider-Man 2 was one of the best superhero movies ever made.
Oh,
dude,
I was
yes.
going to say
Okay.
mediocre.
I think it's a huge. It's a class up to Dark Knight. I was like, oh wow, this is the pinnacle of the form,
I
and then I
like
thought Dark
Dark
Knight,
Knight.
and now I'm back around. I think Spider-Man 2 is probably better.
When you were forming those opinions, had Ant-Man and the Wasp come out?
No, it hadn't yet.
All right, eventually, really.
And then in the moment watching 3 in the theater, I was like, "Oh, that's pretty fun, guys." And everybody thought I was the biggest doofus.
This comes back to a recurring thing of like Kyle's like sort of
Likes
enthusiasm
everything.
blindness. Like he's so excited. I mean, I find myself in the same camp a lot. I'm like, I'm just excited to be going to the movies. It's fun.
Yeah.
So I just generally am like, oh, good or bad, I had a fun time out at the movies.
Same.
I like to dislike things sometimes.
What?
I don't know if y'all have noticed. But
not.
it makes me feel superior.
Yeah, cool.
No.
That's a fun way to feel.
That's a fun way to go through life.
Boy, have I got a sketched comedy team for you.
No, I'm just kidding. I actually really did like the Spider-Man franchise. Enjoyed it. Like that upside down kiss.
It's hot.
Classic.
It's
very
hot, and then also sucks. Practically, it sucks. If you've ever tried to kiss somebody upside down, you're just like, we both know what we're doing.
Yeah.
We're both doing this thing, and then it's like, this is weird, and maybe you have to hang physically from,
You have to hang.
from
Yeah,
fire
and you have to
escape.
be wearing a Spider-Man
And you got to
mask.
be wet.
Have you seen...
that was the problem because he was upside down. He had that thing right over his
Yeah.
nose and was collecting all the water.
He was like getting waterboarded.
He was getting waterboarded the whole fucking time.
Mary Jane, help
Like,
me.
fucking kiss me, hurry up, fucking kiss me.
Hurry up and do it.
Jesus Christ.
It's like, fine, if you're going to rush me.
Jeez.
So you guys love Sam Raimi, and you want
Love
to
him.
come all over his
Yeah.
BB
Yeah,
cage.
I want to kiss him.
I want to hide in his car and then never reveal myself. Just be in there. And I can just see all his movies being filmed around me.
What's Sam Raimi like?
Sam Raimi is, from what I can tell, and I never want to learn anything different.
Okay.
But from what I've ever seen, read about him, from him, he is like a nerdy, enthusiastic, sweet guy with kind of a nasally voice.
Okay.
Like,
Yeah.
I'm really into just making movies and I love my friends.
Midwest guy.
Okay.
From like Dearborn, Michigan or
Michigan,
something.
yeah.
This all tracks.
Yeah.
Childhood friends with Bruce Campbell. Like,
Oh, that's cute.
Yeah.
Did he
That's
make
okay.
the Evil Dead movies?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's not just coincidence that they're both famous?
well, there was
it's
Briscoe
not.
County Jr.
They
Yeah.
made Evil Dead, the first Evil Dead together. That was like the first thing either of them
Well,
did.
that's what I'm saying. Like, they were friends.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
Okay.
I was
Gotcha,
making a joke, guys.
Gotcha.
Wait, I'm sorry.
Oh.
Before we get too into this, because I feel like there is so much ground to cover.
Yeah,
I'm like,
there's a lot.
I think I will just say, first of all, we're all a little punchy, so this is going to be interesting. But I do want to. I love our new bit, our recurring bit, which is like Emma recaps the movie in a minute. This movie came out. This movie came out about 4 years ago, so I think everybody's, if they're a
No,
fan
it
of
came
the
out
genre.
9 years ago.
Oh
Yeah.
Oh my god! Oh my
longer
god.
than
Okay.
you think. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
09.
Okay.
Which will
and so
play into my next segment after this. Where'd Alison Lohman go?
Yeah.
and she should
great.
probably stay there.
She's adorable.
I got those takes. I got them.
Shots
Okay,
fired.
60 seconds. Let me get my phone
Okay.
out. And you're gonna just give us that high level recap for people who have not seen it. Go.
Alison Lohman. You might remember her from Matchstick Men or White Oleander. She plays a sweet little bank teller. No, not teller, loan manager. And she's trying to get a break in this world. And David Paymer won't give her one. He won't give her the promotion. He's going to give it to a man instead. So this older woman comes in, and she's had to renegotiate her loan millions of times, twice. And she's like, please, I'm begging you. And she's also wearing a headscarf and has glass eye.
30 seconds.
And so Alison Lohman has to get the promotion, deny her the loan. And then the woman takes her butt and is like, you've shamed me, basically yells at her and goes, thinner, thinner. And then she's cursed for the rest of the movie. She goes to like a guy who, a psychic guy, and she finds out that she has to give the button back. The button's cursed, so she has to give it back to the witch. Not the witch, the Romani woman.
Just bring it home.
And then,
We're
so
almost
she goes to her dead body. A lot of other shit happens. Justin Long's in there. She goes to the witch's dead body. We're just going to call her witch because I don't want to say the other term for Romani. Because you're not supposed to say gypsy.
You're not?
No, it's a
slur.
It's a slur.
Yeah.
Okay.
Anyway,
we call them jibbos.
but don't get into an argument about it with.
I love that I'm on the last episode of.
This is
we
the
are
part.
definitely afraid of the
Okay,
dark.
we edited, and now I'm back. Alison Lohman, she digs up the witch lady, and she sticks the button, which is in an envelope, in the witch's mouth, and she's like, "Fuck you, bitch." And then she's so happy. She's going on the train with Justin Long, her rich boyfriend, and they're going to go to Santa Barbara. And then he's like, "Oh, you forgot this button in my car. It was in the wrong envelope."
What is this voice?
That's Justin Long.
You forgot
obviously.
this button in my car.
And she looks, and
Excuse me, girlfriend.
she gets sucked back onto the train tracks.
Best part of the movie.
Yes.
It was dope.
And then like falls into a pit of flame and is like, "No, save me," and fucking dies in the last like 10 seconds of the movie. You do not expect it. And Justin Long is just like holding the button, so he's cursed now. And he's just like, was there a 2? Was there a Drag Me to Hell 2?
He's not cursed.
cursed.
The curse is fulfilled.
Broken. And
Yeah.
she's dead.
She's in
Smash
hell.
cut to the title.
Smash cut to
Drag Me to
title.
Hell.
Yeah.
Well,
Drag me to the.
but I thought
hell
whoever
was
had the
fulfilled.
button was cursed.
No,
But the curse
if-
has been, if they've given it.
If
in
they're
Right.
given it
fairness.
before the curse has been fulfilled.
I mean, it is Romani tricks.
So,
Can I say that?
no, tricks
yeah,
is a slur.
you can say it. I will
It's an
say,
illusion.
I will say, I did write.
Romani sex
One
work.
of my notes was, "Is this movie racist?"
I think
think
yeah.
it
Yeah,
is.
I think
it
it
is.
is.
I
It
think
is.
I think the woman who does the seance at the beginning, there's like a bit of a weird cultural stereotype for her. The dude who's basically Ram Dass but is Ram Josh, or something like that. Everybody's like, this is like a weird, grimy, pulpy kind of like tongue in cheek movie.
Yes.
And from what I understand, based on the arc of his career, it's like he went hard back into the pocket of like kind of the visual language and sensibility what he used to make after doing
Yes.
all these studio Spider-Man movies.
Yes.
So is it racist? Yeah, it totally is. Are we supposed to be kind of like, it's acceptable though? I think so. We're just supposed to be like, it's fun though.
Like if you look at the beginning of the movie with that, just the quick character development where they're just
The,
hitting
like,
everything
flashback from
on
the
the
olden
button.
days?
Yeah.
Where she's in her car practicing her diction, like she, you
Oh,
know,
it's classist as fuck.
like she,
Oh, yeah.
and yes, sure, but it's hitting all of these like
No.
she's trying. She's
It's
trying
not
to improve herself in all these different ways. Like she's trying to like hold herself to these other standards. Like so she's dating a guy who is an upper class person. He's obviously from a rich family, and she's trying to make it as though she belongs in that world.
Yeah.
And they set that up really fast at the beginning.
Yeah.
And like all of this stuff, like even at the beginning with all of the like just the credit sequence where you're seeing all the bullshit, like, you know, fade in,
sort of
fade
like-
out,
yeah,
all
yeah.
that stuff, like it contains little bits of exposition and like priming you for what's getting ready. And that is like super standard, like it's like boilerplate on a contract. It's like, here, you're going to watch a horror movie. Here's some shit to get you rolling.
These
If
are
it's
all
a
the
zombie
rules.
movie, it's
Yeah.
civil unrest clips and
Right.
stuff.
Right.
Like, so, but when it's done badly is when you notice it the most.
Okay.
Like, if you want to see an example of it being done badly, start watching Devour, starring Jensen Ackles.
Shots fired, Jensen.
So that is an example of
Haven't heard of it.
something that should just be, you know, barely noticeable. You're just taking it in. Like, here's, you know, some fucking tarot cards and shit and blah, blah, blah. And it's directed by Sam Raimi. But, like, if you go and watch the beginning of Devour, you're like, what the fuck are they doing? Like,
They're just sort of like they're forcing it into your.
It's-
It's like
it's-
these are all this is all vital information that's going to pay off later. But study up
It's
because
just
we're not
done
going to do
badly.
anything in terms of the filmmaking.
so there is a lot of broad strokes
Yeah.
and stuff like that, but it's done well.
Yeah.
It's done properly by someone who has a lot of practice
Yeah.
in the genre. So that's, I think, like a lot of what you're saying is there. There's the classism, there's the racism, there's all this stuff that you can point to if you want to have a stick up your butt about the whole thing. But if you want to have fun and enjoy a movie that is a genre exercise done by an expert in the
Yeah.
genre, this goes.
This is the one.
This goes.
All right, let's talk about this classism, baby.
As far as the classism, I think classism. I think that it definitely is saying something about class, but I don't think of it as classist because the people being the bad people are the rich people. Like,
no,
I guess,
dude. Oh, sorry.
You disagree.
I think she's supposed to be this farm, corn-fed, hayseed rube who's putting on airs, and by virtue and sort of like, I guess, like, by virtue of trying to climb that sort of social or economic ladder, she is punished.
Right.
It's
but that's the point. She's punished because she's trying to be this thing that she's not.
And these are the rules of the genre.
Right. Well, and
I get that. I'm just saying it's like she can't have she can't have ambition or like a more comfortable lifestyle. She's got to basically like evict somebody from her house and die for it.
Yeah.
Yes.
This is the thing that I think is really interesting about horror, where sometimes it's like simultaneously very progressive and conservative at the same time in this way that is like harder to reconcile. It's maybe dependent on like who you are when you watch it. I don't think that that's a bad thing.
Yeah.
I just think it's like an interesting litmus.
But I think we're saying the same thing, but we're coming to different conclusions.
I feel sorry for this woman, and so I'm like bummed out that she died.
Yeah, for
I'm
sure.
Sorry.
I also was totally on her side and wanted her
to
and
survive.
I'm like,
check that
look in the envelope. Look in the envelope.
Yeah.
Yes,
look in the envelope.
Oh, I know this is okay. We're having emotional reactions. Sam Rainey, congratulations, you did your job. It works. But it bummed me out.
It's so much of the hubris is involved in this too. It's like where it's just like you went through so much, like as described by Emma. Shoving it in the old lady's mouth. Check the envelope first.
Just
make sure it's not that Standing Liberty quarter.
So
same size and weight. Also in a white envelope.
That is, I didn't notice that part until the very end. That was a total surprise to me.
Oh, really?
That he had an envelope too.
See, that's how I knew she was actually going to get dragged to hell. I was like, she didn't check the fucking envelope.
And there's that quick cut where the papers get shuffled. Like maybe it happened.
Yeah, I probably wasn't watching.
Well, I didn't catch it the first time I saw it either.
Oh, okay.
I caught it the first time. I want that on record.
I never figured that stuff out.
I think like it's telegraphed.
It is.
And then if you're watching it, or if you do catch it, you're like, you just spend the last 20 minutes in anguish because you know she's fucking up.
Yep.
Yeah.
And then it's like, this is like, we're basically stewing here watching. Oh God, Alison Lohman, look at that.
That's one of the things that I enjoy most about it too, is like that whole time where you're just like, I really am pretty sure you're going to hell right now. Like at this point, like there's so many things you could have done differently. But just this trajectory, she killed her kitten. Like, and you're just like,
oh yeah, that part I did write down because he says you have to kill an animal like a squirrel or something. She's like, I could never kill a squirrel. I'm a vegetarian. 10 minutes later, she kills her fucking cat.
Well, because she was attacked by the demon.
I know, but she could have found a different animal. She could have gone to the store and bought a mouse.
The clock is ticking.
I think what happens is that he says to her something. Maybe I misremember, but I think he says something about like dog or cat. Like it needs to be like, I don't know.
You have to have an emotional connection.
Some sort of connection to it or something.
Or an animal of a slightly higher order than a mouse.
Yeah.
Right.
So it would have to be something that could conceivably, that we would associate with like maybe being able to experience emotion or something. Like it has to be able to experience fear or whatever it is.
Even if he didn't
higher
say
order
that,
mammal.
Even if he didn't say that, emotional sakes, it's got to be a cat.
It just
I mean?
I get that.
No, it has to be a kitten because nobody gives a fuck about cats.
I just wish
let's kill a whole bag
lay the
full of
cards
cats.
on the table here.
We're all teamed up.
Last movie we watched was The Babadook, and Emma got very upset with me for not reminding her that the dog died in it, which I didn't remember. Which luckily there's a whole website dedicated to letting you know if the dog died or not. So before this one, I was like, guys, just a heads up. There's some cat stuff in this. I can't remember if there's anything explicit, but definitely a cat dies in this movie. And everybody was like, yeah, we don't give a shit. Like everybody
didn't give a shit.
No, that hold on, Your Honor.
I said it doesn't bother me as much.
You said LOL, it doesn't bother me as much when a cat dies.
You know what? I'm in your corner, Emma.
That's not the same as saying
shit.
I don't give a shit.
I, for the record,
it
do
is
not give
similar
a shit.
to LOLTHX.
Cats are harbingers of evil.
You are
can't trust
looking
them.
at my sweet boy right now.
Yeah.
He's so handsome. He's a good kitty.
We're always blowing takes on our sweet podcast because old Clicky Claws over there decides
Old
to
cloven hoof.
Hey, buddy.
Okay, so this movie, all right. We're coming at it from all angles.
Yeah, we got to read a wrangle on this.
So I would say I'm just gonna I was in a weird mood when I watched this. So just I don't know if we said it at the top of the show, but we did this a little bit differently than we typically do, and that we watched it separately. And so for me, I'm having this would have been a really fun thing to watch together,
It's a great
and not
theater
sort of
movie.
be distracted. I think it was probably insane, particularly that seance scene with that fucking sweet goat. That scene slaps.
Yeah,
That's
but
so
so good.
But he does a dance in the air, too.
I mean, it's wild.
Raimi loves a silly
So
little
Raimi.
dance.
He loves when the demons do a dance.
Yeah.
Like,
That puppet man.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was creepy.
He's presumably in some sort of harness, just sort of dancing
Yeah.
in thin air. Yeah.
and he'll use the same harness for the cameraman, too. Like, he'll swing the cameraman around
holy
in a
shit.
harness.
Well, that's
Yeah.
dope.
Yeah.
That's really cool.
So I think I feel weirdly conflicted because I think I would have enjoyed this more in a different kind of setting.
Yes.
Other than just like watching it by myself. And then I told Kyle this off the air. This for some reason is one of these movies that I've had like a really insane block on, and I've tried to watch before by myself in the past and never made it past that scene in the garage because it just is like it was too much for me, my delicate constitution.
very scary.
Last night when I was watching the movie, not that scene actually, but just like the first scene in the bank with the old woman, I was just like, I want to watch Steven watch this.
Yeah.
Just because like I can imagine you just being like,
there's so
just,
many
like,
gross
sweating.
things. There are things that are like, I mean, it's fucking ingenious, like when her teeth fall out and she gums her in the car. That's great. But there's so many
so gross.
fluids.
There's a lot of fluid.
There's so much
So
when
much-
she falls
I
on
wrote
top of her
body
at the
horror.
wake,
And that like
and that
embalming
green
fluid.
liquid comes out of her mouth. Oh
Sam
my
Raimi's
god!
big on body horror.
He loves
and that's
that
a thing
stuff.
that gets
I
me
don't
too.
like it.
Even when she cuts into that cake and it pops sort of like a
Like
an
an
eyeball?
Claire pimple or something like that. I'm like,
Oh yeah, a little green pus, then blood afterward.
I thought an eyeball came out.
Well, yeah,
Yeah, you're
but
right.
she stabs the eyeball,
And
and
it-
it.
Yeah,
no,
it's
I did not.
shoots
I
a
turned
little
away
bit.
at that point. There was so much puke.
yeah,
it is
There's
definitely.
so
So that's
much
like his thing.
There's, I mean, his thing is grueling horror, is what the Evil Dead movies were like. That was their
Putting his
like,
friend through
catchphrase.
his paces.
is
Putting
like-
his childhood friend
yeah,
through his.
it's called the ultimate experience in grueling horror. So he just wants to cover you in bodily fluids and decaying flesh, and then laugh at you and like make you just feel.
It's funny
gross.
because the sense of humor, because this is very much like a kind of comedy in many ways,
Mhm.
and the sense of humor to it is like there are these. It's so extreme and over the top. It is funny, particularly at points in time when it's like a release, like during that seance again, and the guy's dancing in thin air. But it does feel like it's like Sam Raimi is a dude who watched and adored like Three Stooges growing up.
100%.
And
absolutely.
And we know the other day we were talking about like not liking
That is
silly
true.
stuff. That's the kind of shit I'm like, I don't, pratfalls and things like that are lost on me, and I wish I liked it more.
Someone full on gets an anvil dropped on their head in this movie,
You're right.
and their eyeballs shoot out of their head.
And kind of
he
it's-
straight
oh, wow.
up loves the Three Stooges.
Yeah,
and
that's
there's
absolutely-
Three Stooges shit in lots of his movies, especially Army of Darkness. If you go and watch that, like
I've seen the one that's like in medieval times.
That's Army
That's
of
Army
Darkness.
of
Army of
Darkness.
Darkness.
Okay.
Army
So
of
there-
Darkness is the one that I feel like for me the dial is just like turned a little bit too far to
Comedy.
Evil
comedy.
Dead
yeah.
2 is
Perfect.
Is perfect.
Okay.
Army of Darkness is still great,
Yeah,
but it's just like Kyle said, it's a little bit over the line
Yeah.
where it's not. There's very little horror left.
Well, Emma, this is like all this male juvenilia like happening.
Sorry.
Like, so are you just like, are you loving it or what?
I hated this movie. I'm sorry. I really hated it.
I'm gonna die. I'm going
Like,
to die.
I get that there are things that were technically done well.
Here
But,
it comes.
So first of
Yeah,
all,
girl, let it rip.
Allison Lohman's character is just like so boring and like there's no depth. and she has no personality. And I don't think the acting was good, which I was surprised because I wrote down, was Alison Lohman always bad, or do I misremember? Because I really liked Matchstick Men and White Oleander, so I thought she was a good actress.
She's doing different stuff than she has to do in those movies.
Well, that's what I'm saying. I don't think this role, she wasn't good.
Mm-hmm.
It bothered me.
Do you feel like it's the sort of thing though that like she's not good because she's not given a lot to do, like from your perspective,
yes,
where it's like
very possible
you're reacting or just things are happening to you. You're like,
yeah, she's like the thing that stuff happens to, but she's not like, yeah, she does stuff, but it wasn't until the very end that she felt like a real character, like when she like shoved the letter in. So and I liked that part.
Yeah.
This is the Raimi lead thing, where he beats the shit out of his leads. He did this in Bruce Campbell and all their movies, where it's basically just, I'm going to take you to the woods and dump fake blood on you and put you in a harness and jerk you up against the wall and all that stuff. And like that is fully happening to Alison Lohman in this movie.
While the character development is at exactly the same level as it has always been.
Right, yeah. It's so
there's
I'm not saying
what
it's
you're
sexist.
Saying is valid.
I just don't like it.
Yeah, no, for sure.
Yeah.
But
I'm not trying to make that argument. I'm just saying in the context of...
But they're almost like playing these like archetypes where it's like Bruce Campbell's like square jaw, kind of like rugged masculinity,
and
she's
sweet
just
girl.
damselly
country girl.
It's just enough. It's
Turnip
just enough
truck.
character for you to be like, okay.
I don't want something bad to happen to her.
I would prefer that she didn't die horribly. I
didn't really, like, I cared, but like...
Said you cared.
I think...
Earlier. Your Honor, let the record
I don't
show.
know. I wanted more from her character.
Can I ask you, were you... Because I would agree with it, that it's like she's pretty forgettable in it for me.
Yeah.
But I was still... this movie pissed me off / bummed me out at the end because I was like, what? Fuck that. Like when she did, I'm sorry. The host in me is like, I'm sorry, the movie made me mad.
Yeah, I didn't think she deserved to die.
It bummed me out. I was just like, oh.
She admits, so
cynical.
In the internal logic of the movie,
she admits that
she admits at the very end, right before she dies, she's like, I could have given her a loan. I didn't. It was my decision.
Sure, but it was her decision under pressure.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
But
still,
we're not talking about the real world. We're talking about within the logic of the movie.
And we've also gotten just enough character development to know that she is likely to make that choice.
Right.
She is doing the addiction thing. She's trying to lose weight and keep it off.
This is why this movie feels so weirdly conservative to me, though, where it's like she's being punished for trying to like rise above her station, even if that means that she has to be deceitful in the process of doing that. I'm like,
I think that while that is a read of the movie,
that is a read.
While that is a read that is supported by what is in the movie, I would say that there's very little chance that was conscious. On Sam Raimi's part, that she is being punished for that.
Yeah,
right. Just. He would see it as her going against her better judgment.
Right.
Like she, at core, is a good person, and she made a bad
moment of weakness.
In a moment of weakness.
Yeah, exactly.
That's what I would say. As I'm coming at this as a fan of Sam Raimi, and this is
he doesn't make bad or problematic things.
This is a part of a continuum from my childhood. So I'm speaking from an ego defense position in a lot of ways, but at the same time, I think that it is readable that way, but intended as more simple.
Yeah, I think that tracks with his previous work. But then also, just to add another read on top of that, I read it this time as sort of an anti-capitalist thing.
It totally was, and it came out in 2007 during the housing crisis and stuff like that. So it feels
2009,
right
after the housing crisis.
Yeah. So like, I think that's all of that's accurate. I would also just say that like, and this is like just through circumstance, that this is bumped right up against Babadook, when I think that sort of like weird literary criticism or that deeper analysis behooves you when you're watching the Babadook. It enhances the experience, and with this, we're just potentially being assholes by trying to like find too much subtext in it. We should have just been like, this is popcorn, gross! And then
you're having fun.
But if you're watching it by yourself, you're just stuck in your own dumb, broken brain.
This is a perfect example of why we should
watch it together.
This is why I wanted to stump for Night of the Creeps. Is because I knew this one was going to be one where like we've got to watch this together, and I'm so sad that it didn't work out.
Well, we did text a lot during it.
There was a pretty hot chat happening,
and we were kind of at the same place in the movie.
Him and I were like tracking together.
But then I took a break.
Well, my favorite part, you were like, I'm going to finish it in the morning. I'm just meditating now. And I was like, hell yes.
Well, I listened to my meditation tapes to go to bed.
I love it. Share those.
Sometimes they do not help.
Oh, no.
I have insomnia.
I just have seizures. That's how I get to sleep.
Yeah, spoiler alert. We asked Griffin what he's afraid of. He might have had a seizure today, and it was not on the top of his list. This will be an in memoriam episode when we release it next week.
No, that's not funny.
Okay, sorry.
That's pretty funny.
I've had seizures, and I'm fine.
Yes, there you go.
Wait, you were talking about the seizures the other night, and then he
Pendulum.
had seizures.
Oh, Emma's a witch.
Are you a witch / G?
I gave you my seizure curse.
Are you a Romani?
Seizure.
Quick, Griffin, check. Do you have any
I'm missing a button. No. My pullover.
What about? Let's talk about some good. Because I was cognitive of the fact I was like, she's not gonna like it. I'm kind of. I don't like it, and then I feel immediately guilty. So
It's okay for us to not like it.
I know.
I really
but
didn't think you guys would like it. I knew that Kyle and I liked it.
I'm surprised a little bit that Steven didn't like it.
There's too much gross stuff.
I knew that Steven would be cringing at the gross stuff and some of the other stuff.
Yeah.
And so I didn't know if you would enjoy that or not. But I figured I didn't think Emma would like it, and I was pretty sure Steven wouldn't like it. But I knew Kyle and I liked it.
Yeah.
So I just wanted to hear, you know.
And
also then...
That's not the point of this podcast.
It is not the point of the podcast. I'm obviously having an internal conflict that is fucking dumb, where I'm like, I don't want people to feel like we're ungrateful because they came and hung out with us and then we said mean things. So I'm
nope.
I should go to therapy and sort of like work on my weird issues with trying to like please people. That's clearly the subtext or the takeaway from this. I think there's some great things. I do think there's moments where they're so obscene to me that I am pushed out of my body, and then I'm just like looking at them and going like, trying to go like, okay, well when the old grandma like fully retches all over her and like into her open mouth, and it's like worms and rot, I'm like, okay, well that's like Oreo dust. Yeah, I'm trying to just like. I'm constantly trying to cope when that gross shit is happening. So, yeah, I mean, I feel like in many ways, I was dragged to hell.
It paid off, just like the movie.
There's a lot of really good practical effects in this movie.
They're great.
There's
How did they fit her whole arm in her face?
They made a fake head, is what it looked like.
The whole top half of it looks like it was still a real face.
Yeah, it may have been sort of like I have no idea.
It could be one of those things where it's like the Hobbit movies where it's
forced perspective,
perspective, or I mean, I don't even know about the arm fully because it could have been.
I just want to see one of those behind the scenes photos where like we immediately see like, ha ha ha, it's like a crazy anime. I think it
was Frank Oz.
One of my favorite things about this, and Sam Raimi, hats off because he does it like maybe 15 separate times, always in really funny or like inventive ways to just get a quick old lady scare face in it. So it's like when it's on the phone, I watched that sequence like 17 times because it tickled me. This fucking sentient, gauzy handkerchief that attacks her at the end that also has kind of like the old lady's face in it. All that stuff is like a ton of fun.
Yeah.
And everything like goes in her mouth.
This movie is a jump scare fucking masterclass. Yeah. It is so good. It plays you like a fucking violin.
You know they're coming.
You know they're coming. And it just drags it out a little bit longer or a little bit shorter than you would expect. And it gets you every single time. It is fucking perfect in that way.
They all was a genre exercise by a master.
Sure. It's a genre I don't like.
That is
what is
valid.
Well, what is this? We're all trying to be positive, and
I'm
you're just
trying to explain. That is me being positive.
No, give us more of this.
We are
we're
schlock
not trying
positive
to talk
here.
you into liking the movie.
I know.
Give us
I'm
more of
just
those
saying.
takes.
I was gonna tell you the one thing I liked.
Okay.
I wrote beating up the scarf is funny though.
when she
Because
stamps
when she's like stomping on the scarf and like so mad at it, and it's
tearing it in half.
really funny.
Yeah.
The best moment of comedy in this movie is the first time, one of the first scenes with David Paymer and Stu, the other candidate for the manager job, and he comes over, and they've already finished the conversation, so this is just sort of background noise. But Stu hands him a piece of paper, and he goes, "Oh, this is for the loan." And then David Paymer goes, "Oh, the loan?" It's like, this movie knows exactly what it is. It knows that's a joke. It's
Yeah.
so fucking good.
Yeah.
Oh, the loan.
The loan.
At a bank. Oh,
the
loan?
bank material.
The bank
loan?
loan?
This is for money. Oh, the money that we have?
So let's talk about that garage sequence. 'Cause
Oh,
that,
yeah.
To me, garage sequence and seance near the end are the best set pieces. Garage sequence, poor dumb Alison Lohman's going back to her car after work. Obviously, it's just going to pop off with the G. Because, like, also, you know what? Fuck that old lady, because like you defaulted on your loan.
Yeah.
I know
it sucks, but it's not her fault.
And they're like, "Can't you go live with your sister?" "Oh, I couldn't put her out." "Oh, but you can curse. Okay, I see you.
someone to hell.
She didn't
Yeah.
shame her.
Yeah.
She was being nice to her about it.
This is why it's an anti-capitalist movie, because they both have
There's a compelling case for both of them.
justifications.
Yeah,
you
but
know?
And then they're pitted against each other.
They're both behaving within this nightmare
When
system.
she should really curse capitalism.
Yeah,
Yes.
exactly. She's like,
Yeah.
"I cursed this whole bank."
Drag capitalism to heck.
shame me, bank.
The walls
That
just start
movie I would
covered in
watch.
puke and jizz. So she's laying in
right.
wait inside of Alison Lohman's car after another, really sweet sentient handkerchief scarf bit. And then these two basically have a kind of like Born Identity close Krav Maga like scrap with really great weapons. It's fucking nuts that we see not only
ruler.
she uses a stapler to staple. She beams her with a stapler, staples her twice in the forehead, staples her eyeball closed, and later on we see that fucking staple pop out. Whenever she's like mid scream. All that stuff is dope. I liked all of that.
Yeah.
I'm real at war with myself here because I liked all of that stuff a lot, and then I think the ending pissed me off.
This sequence is like, just like, to me, height of Raimi. Like, he's so good at the editing in this sequence.
The camera work is insane.
Camera work is impeccable.
Yeah.
The shot following the handkerchief, and then we see her shadow in the back seat, and then she kind of leans forward, and you get like a telltale heart sliver on her weird eye, and then she leans forward even more, and you see it. And also, there's one specific shot that is very Raimi that I love, and it's when Sylvia Ganoush has Alison Lohman like in a chokehold, and Alison Lohman reaches her hand out for the shifter on the car, and Raimi does this a lot where somebody's restrained, and then like quick rack focus on the hand as it comes forward, and then like cut back to their eyes looking at the thing, and then cut back to the thing. It's so fucking effective. He does that in Spider-Man 2, the Dr. Octopus sequence when he's in the hospital, and they're trying to cut the arms off of him. That's one of my favorite Raimi sequences too.
Dr. Octopus had the worst lines in the history of movies.
That's why
Spider-Man 2.
That's why I didn't like
Oh,
2.
God.
Because of his bad dialogue.
Because of Doc Ock, I didn't like that character.
Oh yeah.
Alfred Molina was fine, but it was just like cheesy.
The writing for it was so bad. Like,
Well, that's the thing, yeah.
it was like, I was like, Sam.
Well, Sam Raimi's brother writes his movies. So
Some
does
of
he need
them,
to
they
kick,
write together.
Okay. Not the Spider-Man ones then, but
Maybe,
does he need to kick
actually.
his bro to the curb then? Because this is a recurring theme. Maybe he's got whack dialogue. People are getting.
It's
hung out
almost
to
this
dry.
thing where I'm just like, yeah, some of the dialogue's kind of whack, but it's so endearing that he writes them with his brother. I'm like, I don't care.
It is really sweet.
I just pictured these two brothers working hard together.
You guys love this. You're all caught up in this sweet.
Come on, Ivan. We just have a couple more pages to go.
And then let's get Bruce in here. He's our taller, rakish friend.
Well, because it's Sam Raimi and his brothers Ted and Ivan, and they have worked together on so much shit. Ted shows up in the movies mostly as bit characters and stuff, or he'll be the person in the makeup lots of times.
Okay.
And Ivan is his co-writer, collaborator and stuff. And then Bruce is in pretty much everything. And his car. Sam Raimi's car is in everything except The Quick and the Dead, I think.
Wait, what?
Yeah, so the car that Sylvia Ganush drives,
that old jalopy.
That is Sam Raimi's old car. And it is in all of his movies.
Well, I mean, he's
just too attached to things.
He's got a style of movie. He's got a car. Yeah. He's got 3 friends. And he's
brothers.
Good.
And he's good. He's set.
It's like the kind of good nerd world building. Yeah. It's like before nerd became
so toxic.
Just a horrible thing that you don't want to get within 1,000 feet of. It's it's sweet and endearing. There's these threads.
It's before nerds got connected.
Well, and he's also
back when everyone was in little pockets.
Yeah.
They were generally just nice guys, I feel like. Okay. Or at least they didn't have an outlet.
They hadn't been weaponized.
They didn't have Reddit.
To conspire or whatever.
Yeah.
Where it was, you were more likely to run across a Sam, Ivan, Ted, Raimi, Bruce, Campbell sort of little cluster of guys who are just we're best buds and we like to make movies.
Right.
And, that's sweet and wonderful, and I want it to just go on forever.
And also, by all accounts, a true professional. It'd be one thing if he's that and just kind of amateurish.
Kevin Smith.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But Sam Raimi is a confident filmmaker who knows what he's doing.
Well, he's an auteur
massive
in a sense
producer.
That there's
yeah. He produces all kinds of shit. He's best friends with the Coen brothers. They're real tight. So he knows what he's talking about. He has the language. If the dialogue in the movie is not exactly right, you get the feeling it's he's just focused on other stuff. Puts his brain power in other areas. It's just not a consideration. Well, we talked about with John Carpenter with in the Mouth of Madness. The performances were insane in that, in a bad way, and it's just because he's not really he's just not interested in that. Yeah, he's just doing something else.
Can we talk about that seance?
Yes.
You guys are talking a lot about this dude tap dancing in thin air and doing his sort of pirate shuffle arms or whatever. When are we going to talk about that goat? Okay, this goat is
proto Black Phillip.
This is spoiler alert. We're doing a post. We're fucking meme lords from this point on. We're doing a post pitting this charismatic motherfucker against whack ass. Derivative ass prestige Black Phillip. Fuck Black Phillip?
Who's the goat?
Yeah, who's the
This is writing
it writes itself. So this fucking goat comes out and he's got a really big face.
Yeah,
he seems cartoonish, beautiful rack of horns, but he's giving Allison Loman
great
the
rack
eye.
on this goat.
Is that not right?
No, it's fun. Rack of horns is not something you hear often.
Okay, all right. So I'm listen, I don't hunt. I don't know if that's the proper terminology.
Maybe it is. I don't know.
We get it.
I feel like he. Literally, I'm is it animated the goat? Because it looks like he's trying to sort of come on to Allison Loman. He's giving her a little sly eye, kind of giving her a little smile. And guys, when the demon gets put inside of the goat, I also watched that sequence over and over and over again. I love it so much. I love the style they've animated his evil demon face, and where he's you fuck you tricked me or whatever. That is the best 17 seconds of this entire movie. I screamed with laughter. And so again, I just come back to this thing. I'm you're right. I was potentially robbed. Emma would have hated it.
I did not like the talking goat. I thought it was dumb.
I think it was a puppet. I think
it was definitely a puppet at that point.
Practical
there's some animation being done.
You don't like the talking goat?
No,
is it because he called her a whore?
Well,
he's a demon.
I mean, he's a demon.
He's just trying to get a rise out of her.
I don't know, because I didn't mind the talking goat in The Witch. Only we don't see him when he's talking.
You just hear his ADR voice.
It just seems too. I know this is a campy, fun movie. But I just like, for some reason, the camp didn't mesh with the other stuff.
Well, it's like a different kind of camp. It's like boy camp,
it
not
didn't
like
work
camp
for
camp.
me.
You know what I mean? It's like boy shit.
It's not like camp in the. Yeah, I get what you're saying. Yeah. It's not like Rocky Horror. It's something else.
And it's not necessarily like charming. You know,
it's mean spirited. It's
gross. It's aggressive.
I think the gross stuff might have been the gross and the dialogue, because like I get that he wasn't focused on dialogue, and I hear what you're saying. Like, he is a technically great filmmaker, but I like dialogue and acting. That's what
matters to you.
Yeah,
I understand. I'm not trying to convince you to.
I know. Just for me, like, I was like, I don't care if these shots are cool.
Right.
Like, I don't want to see a talking goat. I don't want to see any more puke. I don't want to see any more old ladies gumming chins.
That what you're saying right now is just white noise.
In some ways, we are very different people.
Well, you and I are fundamentally different in this way. Yeah.
Well, I mean, this movie is. I'm like, this is made for. There is a specific audience that this really is winning for, and I'm like, this wasn't made for me, so I'm like, maybe I shouldn't be so.
I'm not the target. Demographic.
What is in the Raimi canon? I've never seen any Evil Dead movies. You guys say 2 is the must see.
2's the best one.
We agree that maybe 1 and or 2 or Spider-Man. Maybe we're splitting the difference on those being pretty.
I very much liked Spider-Man 1. Spider-Man 2 was fine, but that was where I left the series.
What else? I don't know a lot about Sam Raimi. What else is like? Should we see to kind of like not redeem it, but like kind of like broaden our perspective of who he is as a director?
For one thing, you would probably prefer something like A Simple Plan.
Oh my god, I love it. We talked about it.
Yeah.
It rules.
It's a very good movie.
Love it. It's Billy Bob Thornton and then one of the not Pullman.
It's Paxton.
Paxton.
I've never seen it.
I think I maybe have seen it.
And it's just like one of those down and dirty northern state. We rob something. And
then everybody turns against each other.
Kind of Fargo.
I think I did see that.
And that one is very much more about.
That's so funny to think about that as being him.
Because he is a consummate professional.
Yeah. And there's these great slapstick horror elements, too, like when they shoot the wife, when she comes down the stairs and she goes...
Yeah, but there's stuff like that where it is...
No,
a bit of a spoiler. But like something like that would be more of a Raimi entry that I would think that would land for Emma.
Like
well, I've seen Heart of Darkness and I've seen the Spider-Mans.
Army of Darkness.
I keep making that same mistake, but I have read Heart of Darkness, and I've seen Apocalypse
Joseph
Now.
Conrad, classic.
Anyway, Apocalypse Now, great movie.
That's based on Heart of Darkness.
It is.
A little bloated.
It is based on Heart of Darkness. That's why I said it. Anyway, I remember Army of Darkness not being my... Like, I got that it was funny, but it was too scary for me. I did not like the tree fucking.
Yeah, the tree fucking doesn't hold up.
But
I saw it when I was a kid.
I did like the Spider-Man movies.
Army of Darkness
it was too slapsticky for me. Again, I was like, this is like...
That takes a lot from the Three Stooges. That was one of his main things.
I'm more interested in Army of Darkness as an extension of the Evil Dead mythos.
Yeah.
Like, I'm more interested in the first 10 minutes and the last 10 minutes of Army of Darkness than all the shit in the middle.
Speaking of the last 10 minutes of Army of Darkness, they went with the wrong ending.
Yeah.
Kyle will agree with me on this. He should have done he took too many sleepy drops and went into the future. And there's so much more, especially because it could really pay off that thing that I think it's a recurring line where he's like, I feel like somebody just walked on my grave. It could be him that walked on his grave. I mean, come on.
I think I saw Evil Dead, not Army of Darkness.
Oh, okay.
I think so.
I saw the one with the cabin and the tree fucking.
Yeah.
Okay,
Evil Dead.
that would be Evil Dead.
What about Evil Dead TV show?
Evil Dead?
Give us a quick thumbs up, thumbs down.
I love it.
Ash versus Evil Dead?
It's just like 10 times more of this shit.
Yeah,
though,
it's more. It's Drag Me to Hell.
But it's Drag Me to Hell by not Sam Raimi. It's by people who grew up watching Sam Raimi.
Sam Raimi directed the pilot, and I think Ivan was showrunner or a producer on it or something.
I know he was involved in.
Raimi was around.
Yeah.
Okay.
It has his blessing. He's involved, but it is basically like gore set pieces, and
I can't.
Steven literally just waved his hand at me.
Evil Dead remake. Shrug. Okay.
So most
you guys
people,
are Sam Raimi fans.
Most people don't like
you waver whenever.
Well, it's not really a Sam Raimi movie.
I know, but that's my point. You're indifferent to the remake. You're
Yeah.
indifferent to the TV show, more or less. You like that Raimi.
Evil Dead, they were trying to make a modern horror version of Evil Dead, which is not necessary, and it's also it's
everything that people do with Raimi properties that Raimi himself does not direct always feels off.
Yeah.
There's something about his filmmaking specifically that is like it's tactile. You can feel him on set directing it.
Yeah.
Like you know what you're getting, And so it is a bummer to me that like Drag Me to Hell is one of the last things that he's done. I mean, he did Drag Me to Hell, then he did Oz the Great and Powerful several years later, which I haven't seen.
You got to make that money, I guess.
That was the last movie that he made. He hasn't made anything since then. And
he's so rich.
Yeah, he really doesn't have to.
That's one of the things that I've always wondered is like when you get to a certain level of like having accomplished so much and made so much money, tip the fuck out, right?
Yeah, I don't blame him. I mean,
just like,
secure your bag. Yeah,
I'm gonna go back to Michigan or wherever the hell I want to go.
Yeah,
and I'm gonna just
puke on my wife.
I'm gonna go enjoy bodily fluids and popping eyeballs out and shit.
So gross.
Like, eating smaller versions of myself.
Yeah. Let's vote on this. Does somebody want to take a stab? Tell Griffin how we do this.
I don't stab me.
Griffin,
stab Griffin.
Our system is a simple thumbs up, thumbs down. Did you like it? Did you not like it? And then we have a second rating for scariness, 1 through 5. 1 being the least scary, 5 being the most scary. And the scale that you're using is something from the movie that you would need to relax. So, for example, this one you might say, it was a 5 out of 5. I needed 5 harvest cakes to relax after seeing this film.
I'll go. I don't know why I was so eager to jump on it. Sorry. I'm thumbs down. I think I wanted to like it more than I think I did. It makes me want to see Evil Dead because I think those, and I want to watch Evil Dead with a group of people. So that's just my mandate. I'm saying like we have to do that at some point in time. It was scary to me. It was like an unpleasant viewing experience. Mm-hmm. And so I'm going to say like not 5 in the sense that there's like existential terror. Like I still can't stop thinking about Babadook. It's going to be a thing. This just kind of like, this will stick with me because there's things that like, Yola was on the podcast. She talked about Dr. Pimple Popper. That thing is taking off apparently, and I admonished her at the time for watching something that seems so gross to me. There's a lot of those gross things in this where I'm just gonna be like, oh man, I'm gonna be like stirring a stew pot or something like that. I'm gonna think about whatever is leaking out of that old lady at the funeral because it'll have the same viscous quality. So I'm gonna say 4 on grossness alone, and I'm saying 4 soothing spins in the assistant manager's chair.
Oh.
All right.
Okay, I get it.
Yeah.
I am also going to go with thumbs down.
I feel so bad.
No, it's not an issue. Griffin, do you feel bad that we didn't like this movie?
Oh, no.
Yeah.
You're not Sam Raimi fans, so...
It's fine.
I was interested to hear your takes.
Did not love it, like it, or enjoy it.
It feels so much worse when you say it, though.
I fucking love it.
Steven just...
Because I'm leaning in.
Yeah, you're really leaning into the villain role.
Hey, how did you watch it? On a tablet or...
On my tablet. I spent money to watch it on a smaller screen.
I fully offered up my parents' HBO login so she could watch it. She was like, no, I need to watch it on the tiny screen.
Well, I could have used that, but then I would have had to, like...
It would have taken you forever to get
the whole thing.
Would have figured me out.
Yeah.
So my roommate has HBO on our TV, but I chose... She was like, are you serious? You're going to spend money to watch it on a smaller screen? I was like, yes, absolutely.
No, that makes sense.
So I watched it on my tiny tablet in lots of chunks.
Chunks appropriate.
Yeah, because it blew chunks. I was very scared. Again, not because it's like something I'm worried about happening in my own life, but just lots of gross images that are burned into my soul now that I can't get out. Like the gumming on the chin, I brought it up multiple times. There's just nothing nastier than that.
Yeah, saliva.
Well, and then the vomit, all the vomit. And just like the shaved teeth really bother me. Like sharpened teeth.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna give it 5 engagement rings that never get to be given because Justin Long's about to propose to her when she dies.
It would have been funny if he just was like, "Take it with you."
It's not returnable.
Maybe you can take things with you.
Should I
now?
Should I go and you go guess for last?
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Following the pattern that had been established so far, but go ahead.
Oh, is there a pattern?
No.
I love this guess for last.
I think guess for last is
that rhymes with best for last.
That's right.
So I'll take it.
Thumbs up, guys. Yeah. It's a fun roller coaster ride. It is it's fun to sit in the movie theater and watch this movie with a group of people, and people scream and laugh immediately afterwards. The thing we were talking about with Ashley last week, where it's fun to laugh after you get scared because you feel silly.
They're the same thing.
And it's the same thing. It's the same kind of response. Like Griffin and I have talked about, it is a master at the height of his game. He just came off Spider-Man 3, which was a disappointment to everybody but me in the time, I guess. I calmed down everybody, went back and watched it again. I agree, it's bad. You're welcome. But it felt like him getting something off his chest. Like he just was like, I've been playing in superhero world and clearly still had that in him based on some scenes from Spider-Man that were kind of horror-y. And he made I think, a masterpiece. Like, I think this is truly one of the best horror movies of the past, I don't know, whatever.
Yeah, and the critics agree with you. Everything I read, people love it.
People love it. People love it. And it's because I think they are either... It's people that are more prone to like this type of stuff. Yeah. And also, I think there is something to be said about the way that you watch a movie. In the same way that when we watched The Witch, it was probably not the right environment because we're all kind of making jokes and we're watching for different... If we had watched that movie by ourselves and watched this movie with a group, we may be in a totally different situation today. Instead, I'm miserable. I want to quit the podcast. I want to die. So, thumbs up. And scariness rating, I give it like a 2.5 out of 5 Lakers tickets.
Oh my god!
Because these are the good seats,
dude.
This is where they bring the hot dogs right to you. Good stuff.
Nice.
Okay, well, hit it. Bring it home, Griffin.
So I, like Kyle, I give this movie a thumbs up.
My man.
I don't want to retread everything that Kyle said, but you know, I coming to it, viewing it as a big fan of Sam Raimi, and it is definitely a genre exercise executed, I would say, near perfectly.
Okay,
and it is a genre that I like. So, all of this stuff, it appeals to me in so many ways. And I love Sam Raimi, have for a long time, and it's great, and it is pretty scary. I mean, because I had a fucking seizure. So,
the ultimate scare.
That's pretty fucking scary. So, I mean, it's tough because like I'll give it a 3 on the scary level, because it is not, like you say, like an existential dread. It's not that sort of like, I'm not going to be thinking about the implications of this moral conundrum because it was set up so glibly for the set pieces.
Yeah.
You know, and so it's not that sort of movie. It is a look out. Did you see that? Look at her face. And it is a theater movie, and so it's very interesting, just like Kyle said, to hear the takes from everyone who watched it so isolated and
we fucked up. Kyle was right.
We fucked up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And kind of with a little bit of a fuck you to the movie in some people's cases from the get-go.
I would have liked it no matter how I watched it.
Okay.
That's true.
True.
I'm confident of that.
No, I believe that for sure.
Well, we watched a modern classic. I feel like if we had a PR person or something like that, I would ask them to reach out to Make-A-Wish or Raimi's people so you two sweet boys could join his like good-natured boys film club or whatever. Because you're both like, I love him. He's a master of the genre. This movie was perfect. And so I'm like, well, I'm sorry.
We're two rosy-cheeked
You guys are
yokels.
so sincere. I love you so much.
With
Thank
all
you.
these caveats,
Thank
that
you
we
for
set
putting
up
up with
beforehand.
our bullshit.
I'd like to take a moment to pitch my new podcast, which is people say things that they like, and I just say nope.
Nope. It's like we have,
or I haven't heard of it.
Everyone's favorite thing.
That is a
17 seconds and then a 4-minute Casper ad. All right, cool. So we're gonna do some promos. Griffin, is there anything that you want to plug, or if you want people to like follow you online, where might they do that?
Well, I mean, if you want to find me online, I'm pretty out there. It's Griffin May on Facebook. You can come see Pendulum all through October on our main stage show, Saturdays at Cold Town,
7 p.m.
And every third Thursday of most months.
Yeah.
Emma's The Rose still going on?
Yeah.
And The Rose?
Every Saturday for a few more weeks.
A couple more weeks of that.
Go to coldtowntheater.com for deets and dates, and you can find out about those shows.
Yeah.
And then, as always, the podcast, We Are Deaf Afraid, at We Are Deaf Afraid on all platforms, wearedeafafraid.com. And if you like this episode, or... No, I'm going to specifically task people with listening. If you're a fucking diehard Raimi nerd like these two dorks, sound off in the comments. Tell us how we should go fuck ourselves and give us 5 stars. And maybe we'll read it on the podcast.
Yeah.
All right. Thanks, everybody. Thanks, Griffin.
Yay.
Bye.
Thanks, guys. I'm dead.